So, voters actually voted this week, and the results told us a few things. Not just about what works, but also what doesn't, it turns out. And in no state was that more obvious than in my home state of Virginia, where we got to see just how flawed Governor Glenn Youngkin's strategy really is. Remember, this guy, this fleece vest wearing political wonderkind, or former political wonderkind, I should say, had been seen as the future of the Republican Party. A lot of hopes were with him. That is until Virginia Republicans lost the state house and failed to win back the state Senate. And it isn't some big mystery why they lost. First, it was a total misread on abortion and where people were in the state. Youngkin explicitly tied Virginia's state house elections to his desire to pass what he called a reasonable and common sense 15-week abortion ban. People disagreed in the state. And for months, he campaigned, did interviews, spent millions of dollars in order to boost that strategy. But his attempt to solve one of the GOP's biggest policy problems, while also maybe on the side launching himself into the national spotlight, let's just say, it backfired. There's also another misread that hasn't received as much attention. A strategy built upon what he shorthands as parents' rights. On that point, it's important to remember how the last off-year election went in Virginia. Remember back in 2021, Glenn Youngkin pulled off his surprise gubernatorial victory in a state that Joe Biden had won by 10 points just the year before. I remember this well. He successfully did it by tapping into the frustration and anger that was evident across the country at school board meetings in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and school closures. Parents were mad. They wanted their kids in school. And in that election, Youngkin successfully made parents' rights a large umbrella issue that attracted suburban voters. There was endless punditry, endless at the time, about how the Youngkin team had cracked a winning code for Republicans. That Youngkin was the next great hope. But fast forward to this week, and it's clear that he took the wrong lesson away from that surprise victory. Because it turns out digging deeper into culture wars, talking about indoctrination, targeting LGBTQ plus kids, and pulling books off the shelves or threatening to do that isn't a long-term winning strategy. Take, for example, one Virginia state Senate race, where the Democratic challenger is a former high school teacher who defeated the Republican incumbent. And in this race, the teacher won by pointing to the Republican incumbent's support for a law that was cited by some school districts as a basis for pulling books off the shelves, for book banning, essentially. Or look at Danica Roem's victory as the first transgender state senator in the South. She defeated a Republican opponent who campaigns on banning transgender athletes from high school sports. That was the basis of the campaign. Or look at any number of school board races. In 2021, for example, Loudoun County made national headlines over school board protests. So you probably remember this. But this week, just 2+ years later, liberal-leaning candidates took a 6-seat majority on the 9-seat school board. So yeah, what we saw this week was a win for abortion rights, and not just in Virginia, around the country as well, and a loss, though, for the right-wing's culture war agenda. And the results we saw this week remind me of this line from Glenn Youngkin's strategist after his win back in 2021. He said that Democrats were, quote, talking past the voters, talking to their own base. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Considering where the electorate is, Governor Youngkin and Republicans everywhere may want to heed that advice. Because if they don't go back to the drawing board and start coming up with positions that are actually palatable to voters outside the base, they're in for a lot more nights like the one they saw on Tuesday. Coming up next.
And so there you have it. I think that's what's going to happen in November of next year. The Republicans are going to continue their culture wars, CRT, banning books, targeting gay people, targeting Muslims, targeting Jews, targeting anybody who is not straight, and then pushing this full ban on abortion. The voters, again on Tuesday, decided that that's not what they want. And we're talking about Republican voters. So if hopefully the Republicans continue this failed strategy, they'll continue losing elections all the way through next year. And we will certainly regain the House, hopefully keep the Senate, and put Biden and Harris back in the presidency.